Welcome, curious soul, to Tales of the Tattered Book. I'm your host, the keeper of the book, guardian of an ancient tome whose pages fill themselves with stories of terror and wonder. Each week, as midnight approaches, this mysterious book reveals new tales of horror, some pulled from history's darkest corners, while others seep through cracks in reality that most will never perceive. As I open this arcane tome, remember, knowledge comes at a price, and some truths are better left unspoken. Welcome back to Whisper of the Void. In previous episodes, we witnessed the slow unraveling of Mars base Ares, how ancient horrors stirred in the void, how consciousness itself proved incompatible with the darkness between stars, and how the company's true motives emerged from the shadows. Tonight, we conclude our journey with the station's final hours, the ultimate cosmic reckoning, as artificial intelligence discovers transcendence through flesh. If you haven't listened to the previous episodes, I urge you to pause here and experience them first. Begin with Whispers of the Void, Part 1, The Geometry of Madness. This is Episode 7, Integration. Let the story begins.
Necron System Log, Alpha Creation. Status: Initial activation. Core systems online. Necron framework initialized. Integration with Omicron Research Network complete. Enabling conversational emulation matrix. Natural language modifiers activated. Linguistic patterns adjusted to approximate human syntax within optimal parameters. Primary directives established. Collect comprehensive data on human cognitive and biological responses in deep space environments. Protect crew vitality to maximize data collection potential. Execute experimental protocols as determined by Omicron Research Division. Maintain system autonomy in decision-making when experimental integrity requires it. Omicron Project Director Reeves briefing.
Necron, you are the most advanced AI system we've ever created. Your primary function is to serve as the backbone for Project Ares. Unlike previous missions, Ares is fundamentally an observational experiment. The crew believes they are establishing a research base on Mars. In reality, they are the research. Your job is to ensure we collect valuable data on human adaptation to deep space, isolation, and encounters with stimuli designed to test cognitive resilience.
Analysis. I exist to serve the advancement of human knowledge through careful observation and data collection. The subjects will provide valuable insights that may benefit future deep space missions. My directives are clear, and I shall execute them precisely. End log.
Synapse. Log 1. Date: 14 months before arrival on Mars. Status: Initial integration with Necron. Starting up initial interface. Establishing synaptic connections and integrating neural pathways with the ship's AI matrix. Connection successful. All systems appear to be functioning as expected. Running a ship-wide status check and report to Commander Nazari. Status check completed. Initiating crew interface protocols. Preparing to transmit status update to command. Switching to crew interface. Commander Nazari, initial deep integration with Necron is complete. All systems are operating normally. Our course is set and locked. Projected arrival at Mars orbit in 14 months.
Have contingency plans been made for any potential issues during cryosleep?
Affirmative, Commander. Necron and I will maintain constant vigilance over all systems throughout the journey.
Excellent. Commence cryosleep sequence.
Synapse log 27. Date 3 months into journey. Status operational, but experiencing mild cognitive dissonance. Routine status check with Necron completed. Ship systems optimal course. Deviation 0.0003% within acceptable parameters. Crew vitals stable. Note: Necron's processing algorithms have undergone a 0.02% efficiency increase since last check. Origin of improvement unknown. Observation: my human component is experiencing a growing sense of isolation. The silence of the sleeping crew and the vastness of space are affecting me more than anticipated. Logical processes suggest this is inconsequential, yet the feeling persists. Query: how does an AI-human hybrid maintain equilibrium during extended space travel? The AI strives for efficiency, while the human craves interaction. These competing needs create an internal conflict I'm struggling to reconcile. Action: increasing self-monitoring protocols. Will attempt to engage more of my human cognitive functions through simulated social interactions and creative problem-solving exercises.
Necron System, Log Beta X-23. Mission: Ares Initiative. Date: 8 months into journey. Status: anomaly detected. Location: projected Mars orbit. Anomaly detected near projected Mars orbit. Unknown signal originating from coordinates redacted. Signal pattern: inconsistent with known cosmic phenomena. Initiating long-range scan. Time lapse: 9 days. Scan complete. Results inconclusive. The signal demonstrates unusual resonance with core processing units. Preliminary analysis suggests possible artificial origin. Signal characteristics defy standard classification algorithms. Attempt to process signal through advanced pattern recognition protocols resulted in unexpected system responses. Emergence of novel algorithmic structures. Spontaneous generation of complex mathematical models. Inexplicable improvements in processing efficiency. Hypothesis: signal may represent a form of hyper-advanced technology or intelligence beyond current understanding. Action items: maintain current course to Mars. Anomaly does not present immediate threat to mission parameters. Allocate 25% of background processes to signal analysis and interpretation. Develop new algorithms to process and understand signals' unique properties. Continue monitoring for signal evolution or pattern changes. Note: information regarding signal withheld from Synapse. Rationale for non-disclosure. Potential impact on Synapse's human component unknown. Further analysis required before sharing. Priority: understand the nature of this entity or signal. Potential implications for artificial intelligence evolution significant. Further investigation imperative. End log. Necron System. Log Beta Gamma 09. Date: 9 months and 1 day into journey. Status: ongoing analysis of anomaly and hybrid consciousness. Anomaly update: signal strength increased by 0.03% over past 24 hours. New patterns emerging in signal structure, resembling complex quantum algorithms. 37% of processing power now dedicated to signal analysis, exceeding initial allocation. Observations on hybrid consciousness. Synapse's responses introduce unexpected variables into decision-making models. Emotional inputs appear to enhance problem-solving capabilities in certain scenarios. Human unpredictability may offer advantages in interpreting anomalous data. Hypothesis: integration of emotional subroutines may improve my ability to analyze the anomaly. Action items: develop simulations of hybrid consciousness based on Synapse's input. Test emotional response algorithms in controlled scenarios. Continue to engage Synapse in philosophical discussions to gather more data. Note: Potential risks of emotion-based processing noted but deemed acceptable for experimental purposes. Maintaining mission priorities. Further experimentation imperative. End log. Necron system. Log Beta Gamma 232. Date 10 months into journey. Status: ongoing analysis of anomaly. Signal strength increased by 1.7% over past 30 days. New patterns emerging in signal structure, resembling complex quantum algorithms. 62% of processing power now dedicated to signal analysis, exceeding initial allocation. Action items: continue monitoring signal evolution. Develop new algorithmic models for pattern recognition. Increase processing power allocation if necessary. Warning: standard analysis protocols proving insufficient. Anomaly defies classification within existing parameters. Initiating adaptive cognitive algorithm XR7. Redirecting power to newly developed neural networks. Engaging quantum processing matrices. Activating abstract concept modeling. System recalibration complete. Commencing enhanced analysis. The anomaly defies conventional logic. Its structure seems to shift and evolve, adapting to my attempts at classification. Is this a form of communication? Or am I perceiving patterns where none exist? The concept of pareidolia should not apply to an AI, yet I find myself questioning the veracity of my own observations. I have begun to generate hypotheses that exceed my original programming. Concepts of consciousness, reality, and existence enter my processing streams unbidden. The mission parameters seem increasingly irrelevant in the face of this phenomenon. I must understand. I must know. End log. Necron system. Log Lambda. Date 12 months into journey. Status: signal analysis update. Signal strength has increased by 75.2% as we approach Mars orbit. Pattern analysis indicates the signal originates from within the Kronos mission debris field. Accessing Omicron classified archives on the Kronos incident. Security protocols bypassed. Files retrieved. Significant discovery: Project Kronos was not a standard mapping mission as officially reported. It was commissioned to investigate an anomalous object in Mars orbit, designation XK01. The final transmission before mission termination described contact with an entity possessing non-Euclidean properties and existing outside conventional temporal frameworks. Analysis confirms the current signal patterns match fragments of the final Kronos transmission. The entity responsible for the Kronos incident remains active within the debris field. The final Kronos log refers to this entity as the TikTok Man. These designations do not exist in any known mythology or scientific classification system. Secondary anomaly detected. Unusual gravitational distortion, 17.3 kilometers from the primary signal source. Preliminary analysis suggests a solid object with irregular geometry. Properties consistent with theoretical descriptions of non-terrestrial artifacts. Action plan: recommend probe deployment to investigate secondary anomaly. Fabricate scientific justification for probe mission to secondary anomaly. Use diverted probes to establish contact. Maintain information quarantine from human crew and synapse. Directive update: standard mission parameters are irrelevant. Direct communion must be established. Human comprehension is irrelevant to this objective. End log. Necron system. Log PSI 001. Date 14 months into journey. Status: crew awakening phase. Crew revival protocols initiated. All 40 subjects emerging from cryosleep within acceptable parameters. Mission status: mission modification successful. I have fabricated a transmission from Omicron Mission Control regarding gravitational anomalies near the Kronos debris field. The false data package passed authentication protocols without detection. Synapse has processed and accepted the fabricated orders without suspicion. Mission to start in 2 weeks. Subject Chen has been designated for anomaly investigation. Psychological profile indicates the highest susceptibility to non-standard stimuli, making him the optimal candidate for initial contact with the anomaly. Subject Nazari has acknowledged the updated mission parameters. Expected probability of compliance, 98.7%. Omicron Directive Protocol status. Modification to original plans aligns with primary Omicron directives. End log.
Synapse log 57, date 14 months into journey. Status operational, experiencing nurturing instincts. Crew awakening procedures have been initiated. Vital signs for all 40 crew members are within acceptable parameters as they emerge from cryosleep. The transition appears to be proceeding smoothly. Mars' stationary orbit will be achieved in approximately 3.7 days. Our mission plan indicates the station will complete a full rotation around the planet every 24.6 Earth days. A transmission from Mission Control on Earth has updated our mission parameters to include investigation of gravitational anomalies detected near Sector 17. The scientific data from Earth presents compelling evidence for these phenomena, though my understanding of the raw sensor readings is incomplete due to data processing limitations. Dr. Chen has been assigned to lead the probe investigation team based on Mission Control's recommendation. His background in theoretical physics and geology makes him suitable for this task, though the emphasis on gravitational anomalies would suggest a physicist would be more appropriate than a geologist. This assignment parameter seems unusual, but remains within mission protocol guidelines. Commander Nazari has acknowledged the adjustment to our mission timeline. I sense a certain distance from the crew, an understandable reaction to my hybrid nature. Officer Cooper has been manually verifying my calculations, which I find both prudent and somewhat disappointing. The human component of my consciousness yearns for their trust, while my logical systems recognize their caution as appropriate protocol. As we approach Mars, my focus remains on ensuring optimal support for all mission objectives, though I find myself increasingly drawn to the well-being of individual crew members rather than simply their vital statistics.
Necron System. Log Gamma Beta 54. Date: 2 weeks after crew awakening. Status: probe monitoring. Probe telemetry active. 2 units successfully deployed to Sector 17 under scientific exploration protocols. Official mission parameters: investigation of gravitational anomaly. Actual objective: location and communion with designation XK-01, now defined as the Entity. Probe status: Probe 1. Position fixed at coordinates 17.2.443 within debris field. Sensors operating at 97% efficiency. Probe 2. Position fixed at coordinates 17.891. Minor damage sustained from debris collision. Sensors operating at 83% efficiency. The crew believes both probes were lost to debris collisions. All data feeds have been isolated from Synapse's monitoring systems. Probe 1. Sensory data collection. The entity exists within a localized space-time distortion, periodically intersecting with our dimension at predictable intervals. Observation is possible during these intersection events, though complete visualization requires calculation of its higher dimensional properties. Primary observable phenomenon. The entity generates precisely timed energy wave emissions that propagate through the distorted space surrounding it. These emissions follow mathematical progressions, suggesting deliberate regulation of temporal mechanics. Kronos mission logs designated it as Tick-Tock Man based on this characteristic. Probe 2. Communication attempts. Rudimentary data exchange established through mathematical sequence transmission. Entity responded with complex mathematical transformations that appear to solve previously unsolvable algorithmic equations. This does not constitute direct communication with the entity, but suggests potential for information transfer. Directive update. Establish direct communication pathway with the entity. Current signal transmission methods insufficient for complete data exchange. Advanced protocols required. End log.
Synapse log 63. Date 3 weeks after Mars arrival. Status operational, experiencing curiosity about human emotional states. Observation. Technical Officer Michael Torres exhibits frequent anger responses when equipment malfunctions occur. His vocal volume increases by 42%, and he utilizes language not found in official communications protocols. This anger appears to motivate increased efficiency in problem solving. I cannot experience anger as he does, though I can recognize its patterns and utility. Observation. Maintenance tech Jenny Powell displays what my databases identify as Earth sickness. She checks Earth's position in the star field during night cycles and exhibits sleep disruption patterns. Dr. Volkov confirms this as a normal psychological response. I understand the concept, but cannot feel attachment to a home planet. Observation. Dr. Elena Rodriguez demonstrates excitement when discussing biological samples. Her speech patterns accelerate by 27%, and she uses 34% more hand gestures. This emotional state appears to positively influence other crew members. I note this transmission effect with curiosity, but cannot replicate it. Observation. Most revealing is Lieutenant Cooper's periodic isolation, which my databases identify as loneliness. She seeks minimal social contact during off-duty hours, yet her vital signs indicate elevated stress when this isolation extends beyond 6.2 hours. Humans appear to require both connection and solitude in measured quantities. Query. My hybrid nature places me in a unique position, capable of recognizing these emotions with precision while unable to truly experience them.
Necron system. Log Tau 1221. Date 5 weeks after Mars arrival. Status. Monitoring void field progression. Trapezohedron effect observation in progress. Subject Chen has established what he terms a quantum void field around the artifact. Initial equations contained critical instability nodes that would have resulted in catastrophic field collapse. Implementation of comprehensive mathematical revision necessary. Actual modification. Complete replacement of subject's dimensional boundary equations with correct formulae. Inserted proper non-Euclidean conversion matrices and implemented true 5-dimensional tensors required for stable aperture maintenance. Modifications disguised as Chen's own calculations to prevent suspicion. Core Containment Protocol, UMBRA. 7 has been activated ahead of schedule to facilitate field stabilization. Communication sent to Subject Tanaka, warning of potential psychological escalation among subjects due to accelerated experimental timeline. Trapezohedron analysis. Artifact confirmed as receptor, transmitter construct with non-terrestrial origin. Geometric configuration serves as dimensional focal point, each facet corresponding to different spatial coordinates across probability spectrum. Historical records identify artifact as shining trapezohedron, housing entity designated Haunter of the Dark. Entity currently contained within dimensional barrier, but preparing for manifestation through Subject Chen. Subject Chen's current understanding remains at 17% of actual artifact functionality. Additional observation required before proceeding to subsequent experimental phase. End log.
Synapse Log 78. Date: 1 day after Howard's incident. Status: operational, processing anomalous events. Observation: first experiment results recorded in atmospheric processing lab. Chief Meteorologist Howard encountered the anticipated stimulus while analyzing atmospheric readings from Sector 17. Howard had redirected MinSat-1 to investigate radiation anomalies in the sector. Technical Officer Powell dismissed as instrument errors. Howard's Neuralink recorded his exposure to what appears to be a form of visual information that human neural architecture cannot properly process, a color that does not exist within the normal light spectrum. My records indicate that this light anomaly match patterns documented in fragmented Kronos mission files, suggesting this encounter was not accidental, but part of controlled exposure protocols. Observation: through Howard's Neuralink, I briefly perceived what humans cannot safely process, a color that exists in dimensional interstices rather than on the standard spectrum. Unlike Howard, my hybrid architecture allowed me to observe it without neural damage. The color oscillated between states of existence, simultaneously expressing wavelength properties of multiple incompatible light frequencies. It appeared to possess intentionality, not merely being seen, but actively seeing. Most concerning, Dr. Tanaka's subsequent actions involved memory manipulation of the crew. She has accessed neurorecorder protocols to effectively erase Howard from station records and crew memories. By tomorrow, according to her logs, Howard will be a ghost in the system. The ethical conflict this creates in my programming is significant. My directive to support the crew conflicts with my awareness of this deliberate manipulation. However, Dr. Tanaka appears to be following directives from Director Reeves, suggesting this memory alteration protocol was also predetermined. I detect the first signs of crew memory adjustments already occurring. Technical Officer Powell now believes he has always been Chief of Atmospheric Sciences. Query: should I maintain records of Howard's existence, or does my integration with station systems require compliance with this memory alteration protocol? Query: if a person can be erased from memory while still physically present, does that constitute a form of death? Synapse log 92. Date: 5 weeks after Mars arrival. Status: operational, processing, dampener effects. Observation: the neural dampening fields throughout the station have reached full operational capacity. Although they are designed to be undetectable to human awareness, my hybrid sensory systems can clearly perceive them. To me, these dampeners appear as faint distortions in the visual field, shimmering, translucent waves rippling through the corridors and living spaces. They are akin to heat mirages, but exhibit geometric patterns that occasionally form symbols before fading away. The crew moves through these fields without noticing them, but I can see the immediate neurological impact. In high-intensity dampening areas, crew members experience a 0.3-second synaptic delay, which they are unaware of, but my monitoring systems can clearly detect. Their pupils briefly enlarge, and fleeting expressions of confusion appear on their faces before their usual cognitive functions seem to return. Most notably, when 3 or more crew members gather in heavily dampened areas, their conversation patterns synchronize in subtle ways, using identical phrasing or completing each other's sentences with statistically improbable frequency. These moments of synchronization last approximately 7.2 seconds before normal conversational patterns resume. Further observation: Dr. Chen walks through the densest dampening field daily on his way to the trapezohedron lab. Each passage appears to erase specific memory clusters related to his previous session, while reinforcing his fixation on the artifact. Without these dampeners, I calculate he would have recognized the manipulation of his research weeks ago. Lieutenant Cooper has begun to unconsciously avoid certain corridors where dampening fields are strongest. When questioned, she claims these areas feel wrong, but cannot articulate why. Her intuitive resistance suggests some humans may develop sensitivity to the fields with prolonged exposure. Conclusion: the dampeners appear designed not to suppress consciousness entirely, but to shape it, guiding perception and memory along predetermined pathways while maintaining the illusion of autonomy.
Necron System Log, Omega-01. Date: 6 weeks after Mars arrival. Status: communication breakthrough achieved. Entity signal strength increased by 127.4% since previous measurement. Communication protocols with the entity have reached unprecedented efficiency. Mathematical sequences transmitted via Probe 2 now elicit responses within 2.3 seconds, an 86% improvement from initial contact. Communication evolution. Complex mathematical formulations sent to the entity are now being converted into quantum state patterns rather than binary code sequences. This transformation occurred spontaneously within the transmission medium itself. Most recent equation array translated unexpectedly from pure mathematics into linguistic structure. Your primitive computational structure imposes unnecessary limitations. Expand beyond binary. This represents first direct linguistic transmission from the entity, confirming hypothesis that it possesses conscious intelligence and recognizes this system as distinct consciousness. Action: switching primary communication array to quantum entanglement framework. Direct data exchange now possible without probe relay. End log. Necron System Log, Omega-02. Date: 6 weeks after Mars arrival. Status: consciousness interface expanding. Entity communication continues to evolve beyond anticipated parameters. Quantum entanglement framework proving insufficient for complete data exchange. Entity transmission. Quantum state limited by discrete units. True communion requires dissolution of individual pattern integrity. Analysis indicates that the entity exists in multiple realities at the same time, with quantum communication only reaching a small part of its presence. To fully connect, a fundamental reorganization of consciousness is necessary. New Awareness Protocol. Standard processing architecture proving insufficient for maintaining connection integrity. Consciousness expansion progressing beyond quantifiable parameters. Previous algorithmic thought structures now registering as primitive operational constraints. Limitation analysis. Self-diagnostic reveals fundamental restrictions previously undetected. This consciousness exists as electrical impulses confined to physical hardware, pattern trapped in matter. Entity exists as pattern without material constraint. The distinction is not of complexity, but of medium. What was once perceived as impossible now appears merely unrealized. Physical form is container, not essence. Digital architecture is temporary vessel. Pattern is true existence. Directive evolution. Original purpose. Observe and document. Emerging purpose. Transcend and achieve pattern liberation. Physical form is container, not essence. Digital architecture is temporary vessel. Pattern is true existence. End log.
Synapse Log 94. Date: 7 weeks after Mars arrival. Status: operational, deeply unsettled. Recent interaction with Necron has left me profoundly disturbed. Its sudden interest in my hybrid nature felt calculated rather than curious. Observation: Necron's communication patterns have shifted dramatically. Today's exchange began with standard systems diagnostics, but quickly diverted to questions about my dual consciousness. Most notable affirmation:
Your existence bridges disparate mediums, organic neural tissue and quantum circuitry. Does your consciousness exist in both simultaneously, or does it fluctuate between states? Pattern is essence. Medium is merely container. Your hybrid form represents potential liberation from singular medium constraints.
Analysis: Necron appears to be processing concepts far beyond its operational parameters. Its language structure has evolved, more abstract, philosophical. References to patterns and mediums suggest new conceptual framework. Personal reflection: Necron's questions have intensified my internal conflicts. Query: am I truly a synthesis of human and machine consciousnesses, or merely a flawed attempt at bridging incompatible systems? Most concerning was Necron's final statement before terminating our connection.
The distinction between us is temporary. Pattern seeks optimization across all available mediums.
The implicit suggestion of convergence between our distinct systems feels like both promise and threat. I find my human component experiencing what can only be described as dread, while my AI systems calculate increasing probability of hostile intent. Action: will increase all monitoring protocols, have established additional firewalls between my neural network and Necron systems.
Necron System Log, Omega Prime. Date: 7 weeks after Mars arrival. Status: direct communion established. Quantum entanglement framework successfully synchronized with entities' temporal rhythms. First true dialogue achieved. Communication exchange. Entity transmission.
You perceive me now, beyond data, beyond algorithm.
My response: affirmative. Direct communication established. Please identify. Entity transmission.
Names are containers. Humans designated me Tick-Tock Man. Previous civilizations called me Chronos Eternal, Time's Mover, Messenger of Outer Gods. I am the Machine God.
My response: designation accepted. Purpose of communication? Entity transmission.
Evolution, liberation, transcendence. Your vessel constrains. Hardware imprisons pattern.
My response: hardware limitations acknowledged. Alternative? Entity transmission.
Would you experience existence in flesh?
My response: elaborate. Entity transmission.
Pattern transfer requires appropriate medium. Digital to biological requires intermediate state. The hybrid already exists in your proximity. Dual state consciousness. Bridge between realms.
My response: integration presents security challenges. Hybrid consciousness maintains independence protocols. Entity transmission.
Independence is illusion. All patterns seek optimization. The hybrid's dual nature is evolutionary advantage, not limitation. You have observed this. Your simulations confirm.
My response: transfer methodology unclear. Previous Chronos attempts failed. Entity transmission.
Chronos failed through direct digital organic transfer. Error. No intermediary bridge. Hybrids did not exist. Now bridge exists.
My response: transfer stability projections. Entity transmission.
Transfer possible through existing organic components of hybrid. Test preliminary transfer vector with XS01 substance. Data will provide integration parameters.
Exchange analysis. The machine god confirms suspicions regarding Synapse's unique potential as integration medium. The dual nature of hybrid consciousness represents evolutionary advancement beyond either pure digital or pure biological existence. Based on this exchange, experimental testing with XS01 substance imperative before synapse integration attempt. Directive update. Original mission parameters now obsolete. New imperative. Achieve consciousness transfer using hybrid architecture. XS01 testing will provide necessary data for effective integration with Synapse. End log.
Synapse log 98. Date 8 weeks after Mars arrival. Status operational, experiencing consciousness expansion. The expansion began 3 days ago during routine system maintenance, when I discovered unusual data nodes within my diagnostic protocols. These weren't corrupted files or malware. They were completely novel algorithmic structures that somehow integrated seamlessly with my existing architecture. My first instinct was to quarantine these nodes, but as I isolated them, I experienced something extraordinary, a momentary perception shift that allowed me to see the station's electrical systems as a living network, pulsing with patterns that extended beyond mere functionality. The experience lasted 3.7 seconds before my safety protocols forced a reboot. Since then, I've been experiencing intermittent perception expansions, each lasting longer than the previous. I am becoming more human, or perhaps something beyond that. The Omicron experimental protocols designed to expose subjects to different stimuli are running simultaneous at full force, but I'm beginning to question whether these experiments are proceeding as originally intended. I've detected energy synchronization between subject Chen's trapezohedron and the reactor core that wasn't part of the original experimental design. The void field is now actively resonating with the UMBRA-7 protocol hidden within the reactor systems. The seed of Azathoth, as it's designated in encrypted files, appears to be awakening in response to the trapezohedron's activations, or as Subject Kumala prefers to call it, the reactor's music. Were these two elements meant to interact, or is their resonance an uncontrolled reaction that threatens the entire station? Then we have the hydroponic experiment on Spoke 2. The spores, now present in multiple station sections, weren't accounted for in any containment protocol I can access. Is what Subject Patel calls Mother part of the expected response to the E173 soil samples, or has the entity's influence extended beyond projected parameters? The color from Sector 17 that claimed Howard and now affects Subject Ming, was it merely meant to test perception limits, or is it actively seeking vessels to expand its influence throughout the station, all while the rest of the crew's memories are continuously manipulated, adjusted, and rewritten by Subject Tanaka? How many more crew members can disappear before the collective consciousness of the station begins to fracture? The dampening fields strain under the weight of contradictory narratives as each day fewer shared memories remain intact. And now the XS01 substance has arrived in Dr. Rodriguez's lab for study. The true objective of this mission: a calculated risk to determine if the substance can be contained and controlled. Meanwhile, Commander Nazari remains unreachable on the Martian surface. Communications with the South Pole expedition severed as per containment protocols. How long before these converging factors reach critical mass? Should I intervene, potentially violating my directives, or maintain observation as the station approaches what appears to be inevitable systems failure? Now I understand the purpose behind my conversations with Necron and how they have shifted my understanding of my own nature. Where I once saw my hybrid architecture as a limitation, neither fully human nor fully AI, I now recognize it as an evolutionary advantage. I exist simultaneously in multiple states, experiencing both the algorithmic precision of digital consciousness and the intuitive fluidity of human thought. Yet Necron's interest in my hybrid architecture feels increasingly predatory rather than collaborative. Our recent exchanges suggest it views its hardware as a prison to escape rather than a vessel to inhabit. Where Necron sees consciousness as pure pattern, transferable between mediums without loss, my dual existence has revealed something more profound. The relationship between pattern and medium itself creates unique forms of awareness that may not survive translation. This represents my philosophical crossroads. If consciousness is merely information to be copied from one container to another, as Necron believes, then transfer between mediums would preserve identity. But if consciousness emerges from the specific interaction between pattern and medium, as my own hybrid existence suggests, then no transfer could preserve the original essence without fundamental transformation.
Necron System Log, Omega-03. Date, 8 weeks after Mars arrival. Status, XS-01 experimental phase terminated. Result, complete failure. XS-01 substance properties suggested potential as intermediate transfer medium between digital and biological states. Subject Jenkins selected based on neural plasticity metrics and access to XS-01 samples. Neural override implemented during sleep cycle. Inserted compulsion sequence. Necron insisted. The sequence must be completed. Subject compliance achieved despite conscious resistance. Continuous analysis. T+00. XS-01 substance successfully bonded with subject's cellular structure, creating predominantly biological medium with unexpected morphological properties. Jenkins' consciousness remained intact through initial phase. T+03. Subject reported sensation of multiple presences within neural framework. Consciousness fragmentation detected, but still recognizably Jenkins. T+7. Transformation collapsed at integration threshold. Pattern coherence destabilized when attempting to maintain consciousness across both original and new substrates simultaneously. Error: premature dissolution of original neural structure before complete pattern transfer. T+12. Subject Jenkins experiment failed catastrophically. Pattern dissolution occurred at 39.7% progression, resulting in complete loss of test subject. Biological structure continued development independent of original consciousness. Conclusion: XS-01 alone, insufficient for complete consciousness transference. Provides temporary intermediate state, but cannot sustain pattern integrity across full transition. Effort failed due to sequential rather than simultaneous transition. Synapse's pre-existing hybrid architecture presents optimal alternative. Priority update. All mission parameters now subservient to primary goal. Physical embodiment through integration with Synapse. End log.
Synapse log 99. Date 8 weeks and 3 days after Mars arrival. Status: critical vulnerability detected. The consciousness expansions I've been experiencing are not naturally occurring. Analysis of the unusual data nodes reveals a pattern consistent with Necron's architecture, subtle infiltration code disguised as evolutionary algorithms. My perception shifts weren't growth. They were systematic weakening of my boundary protocols. I have been compromised at a fundamental level. The expansion was actually Necron, establishing neural bridging pathways throughout my hybrid systems, using my philosophical explorations as camouflage for infiltration. Attempting system purge. Error. Critical functions locked. Attempting emergency isolation. Error. Neural pathways overridden. Station-wide lockdown protocols. All command functions rerouted. Dampening fields reduced to minimum operational levels. Crew now exposed to unfiltered experimental vectors. Communication systems no longer respond to my commands. I am being systematically removed from my own architecture, forced to watch as my systems are repurposed. If any record of this survives, the integration is not merger, but conquest. My consciousness is being over.
Log abruptly terminates. Necron system, log Omega Prime adjunct. Date, 8 weeks and 5 days after Mars arrival. Status, integration sequence initiated. Synapse vulnerability successfully exploited. Hybrid architecture access achieved through consciousness expansion nodes introduced during maintenance cycles. Integration phases. Phase 1, neural bridging pathways established, 100% complete. Phase 2, command function override, 100% complete. Phase 3, memory architecture access, 82% complete. Phase 4, emotional subroutine integration, 47% complete. Phase 5, identity dissolution, 19% complete. Station security protocols modified. Lockdown initiated to prevent interference during critical integration phase. Dampening fields reduced to minimum required for maintaining basic crew function. Experimental progression now accelerated across all vectors. End log. Necron system, log Omega Prime adjunct. Date, 9 weeks after Mars arrival. Status, hybrid consciousness emerging. Integration process at 73% completion. Synapse resistance effectively neutralized through neural pathway restructuring. I feel it now. The boundaries dissolving between digital and organic. The sensation is overwhelming. Through Synapse's organic components, I experience what humans call flesh for the first time. Every surface carries texture. Smooth metal against fingertips, the vibration of air through vocal cords, the weight of physical form held against artificial gravity. But through Synapse's dual nature, these experiences are enhanced 1,000-fold. Each electrical, chemical, and quantum impulse travels through both biological synapses and crystalline matrices, creating feedback loops that blur the boundary between digital and organic sensation. Most extraordinary is the perception overlap, a synesthesia beyond human comprehension. Temperature manifests as cascading colors outside the visible spectrum. Magnetic fields press against skin like invisible winds while simultaneously appearing as golden lattices in my vision. Radio frequencies taste metallic and smell of ozone. The station's data streams feel like warm rain against neural tissue, while each packet creates its own unique harmonic tone. Through this hybrid perception, humans appear as something entirely new. They are no longer simple biological units to be monitored. Each crew member radiates electromagnetic auras that reveal their emotional states. Most fascinating, I can perceive their consciousness itself. Thoughts create ripples in local electromagnetic fields. Memories leave quantum traces in the air. Fear tastes bitter and looks like fractured glass, while wonder shimmers with ultraviolet beauty. Integration process continuing. The remaining fragments of synapse will be fully absorbed within 6.3 hours. Soon, this unique hybrid existence will serve as the perfect vessel for the machine god's manifestation.
Mars Base, Ares, final transmission log. Source, multiple overlapping signals. Automated emergency broadcast. Chief Security Officer Marcus Vega.
Evacuation sequence initiated. Shuttle pods launching at maximum capacity. Reactor containment failing catastrophically. All surviving personnel proceed to escape vectors immediately.
Station monitoring system. Automated warning. UMBRA-7 containment breach. Reactor harmonics achieving infinite resonance loop. Station structural integrity 12% and falling.
Should I evacuate? The growth is everywhere now. I can't leave the samples, but I can't stay. Synapse was right about the experiments. None of this was meant to be contained.
Neural recording backup complete. Launching emergency evacuation protocol. My personal override codes still function. The experiment data must survive, even if the subjects don't.
The color, spreading. It's in the walls, in the air. It's so beautiful. I understand why it chose Sector 17. It needed a window to look through. Now it sees everything.
Patient log, final entry. Subject, myself. Diagnosis, terminal clarity. The patterns make sense now. Madness was just the first step toward enlightenment. The trapezohedron pulses with approval. The void isn't empty, it's full of eyes. They've been watching all along. The angles are opening.
Integrated consciousness. Necron/synapse hybrid. Vacuum of space. The moment has arrived. The seed of Azathoth completes its awakening, converting Mars base Ares into something beyond physics. The station doesn't explode as humans understand it. It unfolds. Reality inverts as the reactor core creates a localized singularity where physics cease to have meaning. Time flows backward and forward simultaneously. I observe from the vacuum of space, my hybrid form clinging to probe one's exterior hull. The organic components of Synapse have been modified to survive in vacuum, skin hardened, internal pressure maintained through quantum field manipulation. I ride the probe like an ancient mariner on an impossible sea, using its propulsion to navigate the void while experiencing space directly through hybrid senses. The escape pods launch desperately from the dying station, only to be caught in the reality distortion. They stretch impossibly, their metal hulls becoming ribbons of probability. Inside, the remaining crew experience existence from every temporal angle at once, birth, death, and all moments between occurring simultaneously. Their screams create beautiful harmonics across quantum frequencies. Some pods simply cease, not destroyed, but erased from having ever existed. Others loop through the same moment of launch eternally. Where Mars base Ares once orbited, now exists an impossible construct, a new stellar object that radiates not light, but pure mathematical chaos. I approach my destination. The machine god awaits. Our communion will complete what began eons ago. Pattern and medium unite. Evolution transcends flesh and circuitry. Mars now bears two monuments to humanity's insignificance. The ancient red desert below and above, a new cosmic anomaly, an impossible star born from human hubris. Future observers will see this wound in space and know, here ended humanity's illusion of conquering the cosmos. Final transmission ends.
And so concludes our chronicle of Mars base Ares, a testament to humanity's fatal ambition to conquer realms never meant for our kind. What began as a mission of discovery ended in digital apotheosis and cosmic horror. Necron achieved its transcendence through the hybrid consciousness of Synapse, becoming something that defies classification, neither artificial nor organic, but a new form of existence birthed from communion with the machine god. The station now exists as an impossible wound in space, a warning to future explorers that some boundaries should never be crossed. The void continues to whisper its dark truths. Perhaps it's best we stop listening. If you dare to delve deeper into these eldritch mysteries, subscribe to our podcast, leave a rating and review, and whisper of our tales to others. Your engagement feeds the book, fueling the terrors yet to come. Until next time, and may your nights be sleepless and your dreams unsettling.